Joining us to discuss the journey of South African prisons from punitive centres to facilities for rehabilitation is Department of Correctional Services spokesperson Singabakho Nxumalo. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, from being primarily punitive centres to correctional facilities, now emphasising rehabilitation. South African prisons have undergone quite a significant amount of transformation if we look back to what they were under apartheid South Africa.
A very good evening and thank you for having us. Indeed, it has been a very long journey championed by a vision of transformation. And in South Africa, you have a unique feature where the liberation struggle went through the prison system. You will then have to understand what was going through at the time, and what prisoners had to endure under the officials. And moving from that prison system to a correctional system has been, let us say, a challenging journey, but a fulfilling one, because it talks to the fundamentals of a state that is developing towards becoming a country where people are afforded opportunities, where people are given a second chance, but where people can also even realize themselves. So it was necessary that we then transform the prison system into what we now have today as a correctional system, so that at least the gospel of rehabilitation does in a way transform what we want to see as society. And what we have today as a country, we're very proud, and we are saying that yes, there could be challenges there and there, but we remain determined in making sure that we are able to transform our country, and we are able even to demonstrate to others and saying that you may have committed an error, committed a crime, but that is not the end of the road.
Yeah.
Ours is to correct the offending behavior, give you necessary skills so that you can revive yourself and see what is it that you can offer in becoming a law-abiding citizen.
As we look back at what may have prompted the change, do you think it was a matter of policy, public pressure, or the result of international influence, if we take stock of where the correctional facilities are today?
I've said the liberation struggle went through the prison system, so it had no choice. It needed to transform as well. What we demonstrated today as we commenced with the work in terms of building a Nelson Mandela Rules Training Academy is to then say the United Nations has said to us there are these standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners, which 10 years ago were then renamed Nelson Mandela Rules. It's because of the contribution that Nelson Mandela made, where he fought for human rights, where he made it a point that even offenders are human beings and must be treated as such. And that had to be cemented within our own system here in South Africa into saying that what is it that we are doing in terms of treating offenders, the manner in which our constitution dictates, but also in making a point that we are rebuilding people there. So as a country, we had no choice. We had to transform as well. Hence, today we have a correctional system that we can proudly say its work is well aligned with what the Constitution says to all of us, but also its work does talk to ordinary human beings on the street in saying that there are skills that are available in our facilities, and those that have acquired those skills are able to go back and plow that knowledge and make a positive contribution to society.
Yeah.
And
Mr. Nxumalo, if you'll allow me, just for the sake of time,
to treat
I mean,
who are in our care.
You have emphasized numerous times during this conversation about some of the work that still needs to be done, the challenges that still remain in the system. There are numerous challenges like overcrowding and understaffing. How do you respond to critics who may argue that rehabilitation is perhaps soft on crime because a significant number of released inmates reoffend and end up back in the system?
The sad reality is that overcrowding is a perennial challenge for the prison system world over. Many countries are experiencing overcrowding, but it's how you go about making a point that those who are within the system do benefit from developmental programs. And how do you deal with people who spend a long time as remand detainees? Here I'm talking about people who are still attending to court cases. And that's a challenge that we have as here in South Africa. We have more than 60,000 people who are remand detainees, people who are not sentenced. And if you remove that community from the correctional system, you will have no overcrowding at all, meaning that your 103,000 inmates that are sentenced do receive the necessary programs that they ought to attend. But there's overcrowding there because what it does, it puts a strain in terms of our facilities. It does stretch the resources that we have. It's something that from time to time requires adjustment. And hence, as a department, we've always made it a point that we work with our counterparts in addressing it, but we're also increasing the bed space with the little that we have as a department. So there's work happening in that particular front. Giving up is not an option, but as I've said, there's good progress, but it also says, what do we do now as a country in terms of fighting crime?
Very well. Thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it there for now. Speaking there to the Correctional Services spokesperson, Singabakho Nxumalo.